Section 1. The decision to hack the CIA. Sam and Alex were not your typical teenagers. From a young age, they were captivated by the power of technology. While other kids were out playing sports, they were inside, tinkering with old computers and exploring the hidden corners of the internet. By the time they reached high school, their friendship had become an intense partnership, fueled by a shared love for hacking. They spent countless hours challenging each other, testing the limits of their skills on increasingly difficult targets. School servers, local businesses, and eventually, small corporate networks. But as their abilities grew, so did their ambitions. They had become bored with the easy victories. They craved a challenge that would truly test their limits. One night, as they sat in the dim glow of their computer screens, Alex jokingly posed the question that would change everything. What if we tried to hack the CIA? At first, the idea was laughable. The CIA was the pinnacle of security, an impenetrable fortress guarded by the best cybersecurity experts in the world. But the more they thought about it, the more the idea took hold. It was the ultimate test of their skills, a challenge so audacious that it would cement their legacy in the underground hacking community if they succeeded. Over the next few weeks, what started as a joke became a serious plan. Sam and Alex threw themselves into researching the CIA's security protocols, reading everything they could find about the agency's systems. They knew the risks were astronomical. Getting caught would mean serious legal consequences, potentially ruining their futures. But they convinced themselves that they could pull it off. They weren't planning to cause any harm. They just wanted to see if they could get in, prove their skills, and slip out undetected. Their preparation was meticulous. They spent hours each night mapping out their strategy, identifying potential vulnerabilities, and covering their tracks. They knew they had to be perfect. One mistake could lead to their downfall. But the thrill of the challenge was too great to resist. The idea of outsmarting the world's top intelligence agency was intoxicating. The night of the hack was fraught with tension. Sam and Alex sat side by side, their faces illuminated by the glow of their screens. Every click, every keystroke brought them closer to the point of no return. As they breached the first layer of security, a rush of adrenaline coursed through their veins. They were doing it. They were actually hacking the CIA. As they delved deeper into the CIA's network, the reality of what they were doing began to sink in. This was no longer a game. Every second they spent inside the system increased the risk of detection. But they pressed on, driven by a mix of fear and exhilaration. And then, after what felt like an eternity, they were in. The screen flashed, access granted. For a moment, they were stunned into silence. They had done it. They had hacked the CIA. But as the initial thrill subsided, they realized the gravity of their actions. They had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. The elation they felt was quickly replaced by a cold, creeping fear. Section 2. The Aftermath. In the immediate aftermath of the hack, Sam and Alex were consumed by a mix of emotions. Pride in their accomplishment, fear of getting caught, and a deep, gnawing anxiety about what they had done. The thrill of the hack quickly faded, replaced by a sense of dread. They had taken every precaution to cover their tracks, but this was the CIA, a formidable opponent with resources beyond their imagination. Their paranoia grew with each passing day. Every unexpected noise, every unfamiliar face seemed like a potential threat. They began to isolate themselves, avoiding friends and family, terrified that any interaction could lead to their discovery. Their once inseparable friendship began to fray under the pressure. Sam, who had always been the more cautious of the two, became obsessed with the possibility that they had made a mistake, that they had left some trace that could lead the authorities to them. He spent hours online searching for any mention of the hack, any sign that the CIA was onto them. Alex, on the other hand, tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy, but even he couldn't escape the creeping sense of doom. He began to doubt their decision, questioning whether the thrill of the hack had been worth the risk. The weight of their actions hung heavily over them, casting a shadow on every aspect of their lives. Then, the day they had both feared arrived. It started like any other until the doorbell rang. Standing on the doorstep were men in dark suits, their expressions grim and unyielding. Agents from the CIA and FBI. The game was up. The arrest was swift and efficient. Sam and Alex were taken into custody, their computers and equipment seized as evidence. The reality of their situation hit them like a ton of bricks. They were no longer just two kids playing a dangerous game. They were criminals, facing the full force of the law. The interrogations that followed were relentless. The agents wanted to know everything: how they had managed to breach the CIA's security, what their motives were, and whether anyone else was involved. Sam and Alex, who had always prided themselves on their intelligence, now found themselves outmatched and overwhelmed. The gravity of their actions became all too clear as they realized the severity of the consequences they were facing. The media quickly got hold of the story, and it wasn't long before Sam and Alex became the focus of intense public scrutiny. They were painted as reckless, misguided teens who had allowed their curiosity and arrogance to lead them astray. The once thrilling idea of being known as the kids who hacked the CIA now felt like a curse, a label that would follow them for the rest of their lives. Section 3. The resolution. The legal proceedings were a nightmare. Sam and Alex were thrust into a world they were utterly unprepared for, a world of lawyers, courtrooms, and media frenzies. The government was determined to make an example of them, to show that no one, not even two teenagers, could get away with breaching national security. But the judge, taking into account their youth and lack of prior offenses, handed down a more lenient sentence than they had feared. Sentenced to serve time in juvenile detention rather than adult prison, a decision that offered a glimmer of hope. But even this mercy did little to alleviate the crushing weight of what they had done. The reality was that their lives had been irrevocably altered. In detention, Sam and Alex had plenty of time to reflect on their choices. The isolation, the strict routine, and the absence of the digital world they once dominated gave them a new perspective. They began to understand the true cost of their actions, not just the legal consequences, but the emotional and psychological toll as well. When they were finally released, they stepped into a world that had moved on without them. The label of the kids who hacked the CIA would be a burden they carried for years to come, but they were determined to rebuild their lives, to prove that they were more than just a headline. In the end, they learned that true intelligence isn't just about what you can achieve. It's about knowing when to stop.